Good evening, Beezy Bee, and welcome to Sleep Better Podcast by Beezy Bee's Honey, where we share special sleep stories to help you sleep better. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the incredible dedication and care you pour into each day. Your commitment to nurturing others is truly admirable, but tonight, this time is solely for you. It's your turn to be cared for, to be soothed, and to embrace the tranquility that you so richly deserve. Imagine for a moment the gentle embrace of serenity, wrapping around you like a soft, comforting blanket. Tonight is about letting go of the day's worries and immersing yourself in a world of peacefulness and rest. Remember, Beezy Bee, caring for yourself is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Your well-being is the foundation from which you can continue to spread kindness and compassion to the world. As you find yourself in your cozy haven, I invite you to make yourself as comfortable as possible. Whether it's nestling into your favorite chair or lying down in your bed, enveloped by soft, welcoming sheets, find that spot that feels just right. Feel the support beneath you, holding you, offering a place of rest and relaxation. This is your sanctuary, a place where calmness and peace reign supreme. Now, let's focus on your breath, the simple yet profound tool that bridges the mind and body. Gently close your eyes if you haven't already and turn your attention inward. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling the air fill your lungs, bringing with it a sense of calm and clarity. Hold it there for just a moment, and then release it slowly, letting all the stress and tension melt away with your exhale. Feel your shoulders relax, your body soften, and your thoughts quieten with each breath. With each inhale, imagine drawing in tranquility and peace. With each exhale, envision releasing any lingering thoughts or concerns. Let your breathing become a gentle rhythm, a soothing lullaby that whispers of relaxation and comfort. As you continue to breathe deeply and evenly, allow my words to float through your mind, painting a picture of a serene and enchanting world, just waiting for you to explore. This story, crafted especially for you, Beezy Bee, is a journey to a place where dreams blend seamlessly with reality, where the mind finds solace and the spirit is gently lulled into a state of blissful repose. So settle in, Beezy Bee. Let the world outside fade away as we embark on this peaceful journey together. Let's begin. The coastal town of Marrow Bay was a picture of serene isolation, with its cliffs standing guard against the relentless sea. Samantha had always found comfort in the rhythmic crashing of waves against the rocky shore. Little did she know, her life was about to be swept up in a tide of hidden truths and ancient mysteries. Samantha was no stranger to the tales of old mariners and legends whispered by the town's elders. Yet, she never believed them to be more than fables, meant to entertain children and tourists. Her days were spent helping at her father's bookstore, a quaint haven of stories and dreams nestled at the heart of Marrow Bay. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fiery orange and deep purple, Samantha stumbled upon a peculiar item. While rummaging through her late grandmother's belongings in the attic, her fingers brushed against a cold, metallic object. It was a locket, intricately crafted, with unfamiliar symbols etched into its surface. Intrigued, Samantha opened the locket. Inside, she found a faded portrait of a stern-looking woman, her eyes hauntingly familiar, and a tiny rolled-up parchment. Unfurling the delicate paper, Samantha's eyes widened in disbelief. The parchment was a cryptic map leading to a place she had only heard of in hushed tales, a distant, forgotten castle shrouded in mystery and night. That night, as Samantha lay in bed, the Locket's enigma invaded her thoughts. She dreamt of moonlit paths and shadowy figures, of whispers in the dark that called her name. She woke with a start, a sense of unease gripping her heart. The following day, while the town was abuzz with its daily routines, Samantha couldn't shake off the feeling of destiny's hand nudging her. She spent the day distracted, her mind returning again and again to the locket and the map. The image of the castle, perched atop a distant hill surrounded by a forest as old as time, seemed to beckon her. As the bookstore's clock chimed the end of the day, Samantha made a decision. She would venture to this mysterious castle. Perhaps there, she would find answers about the locket, the woman in the portrait, and the strange connection she felt towards them. That night, under a blanket of stars, Samantha packed a small bag with essentials. She tucked the locket around her neck, feeling its cold metal against her skin. It felt like a key, unlocking a door to a part of her life she never knew existed. Her journey began at dawn. The map led her through forgotten paths, overgrown with moss and mystery. The further she traveled from Marrow Bay, the more she felt an unexplainable pull, a force leading her towards a destiny written in the stars. As evening approached, Samantha found herself at the edge of a dense forest. The trees stood tall and ancient, their branches intertwining like silent guardians. She hesitated, feeling the weight of the unknown ahead of her, but the pull of the locket, now warm against her chest, urged her forward. With each step into the forest, shadows danced around her, and the air grew thick with an electric charge. Samantha felt as if she was walking through a veil, leaving her old life behind and stepping into a world of secrets and darkness. As the forest path twisted and turned, an eerie fog began to descend. Shapes moved in the periphery of her vision, and distant howls echoed between the trees. Fear gripped Samantha, but curiosity propelled her forward. Suddenly, she emerged from the forest, into a clearing. The fog lifted, revealing the silhouette of the castle, its spires piercing the twilight sky. It was more magnificent and foreboding than she had imagined, a relic of a time long gone, yet alive with a mysterious energy. The castle, bathed in the light of the rising moon, looked both welcoming and warning. Samantha's heart raced with a mix of fear and excitement. This was the journey her grandmother's locket had led her to, a path entwined with her own hidden heritage. As she approached the ancient gates, they creaked open, as if expecting her arrival. Stepping inside, Samantha felt a chill run down her spine. The air was thick with the scent of old stone and forgotten tales. The castle's halls whispered secrets, and shadows seemed to watch her every move. Exploring the dimly lit corridors, Samantha's mind raced with questions. Who was the woman in the locket? What connection did she have with this castle? And why did she, Samantha, feel as if she was returning home? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden chilling sensation. She wasn't alone. From the darkness, a figure emerged, its presence commanding yet ethereal. Samantha's heart skipped a beat as the figure stepped into the moonlight, revealing a strikingly handsome man with piercing eyes that seemed to see right through her. "Welcome, Samantha," he said, his voice a melody of darkness and light. "We've been expecting you." Stunned, Samantha took a step back. How did he know her name? Who was he? And what did he mean by we? Before she could ask, the ground beneath her trembled. The castle shook as if awakening from a long slumber. A deep, ominous roar echoed through the halls, and the man's eyes flashed with a warning. "Our world is in peril," he said urgently, "and you, Samantha, are the key to its salvation." The walls of the castle trembled again as if under siege by an unseen force. Samantha's heart raced with fear and wonder. What had she stepped into? As the man extended his hand, the chapter closes, leaving Samantha and the reader on the precipice of an adventure beyond the realms of imagination. In the echoing chambers of the ancient castle, Samantha stood frozen, the stranger's outstretched hand a bridge to a world she never knew existed. His words, though cryptic, ignited a fear deep within her. She was a mere bookstore owner, not a savior of mystical realms. "I think you have the wrong person," Samantha stammered, backing away. "I'm just here because of this locket. I don't know anything about saving worlds." The man's eyes softened, a hint of understanding flickering in their depths. "I know this is overwhelming, Samantha, but destiny has a way of finding those who are meant to fulfill it." His voice was like velvet, smooth and compelling. He introduced himself as Lysander, the castle's guardian. He led Samantha through the vast halls adorned with ancient tapestries and eerie portraits, to a library that seemed as old as time itself. There, amidst the musty scent of books and the flickering candlelight, Lysander revealed the hidden history of their world. Samantha listened in disbelief as Lysander spoke of a centuries-old war between vampires and an ancient enemy, a war that had been kept hidden from the human world. The locket, he explained, belonged to Samantha's ancestor, a powerful vampire who had played a crucial role in the war's last great battle. "The prophecy speaks of a descendant who will rise to face our enemy in the final confrontation," Lysander said, his gaze intense. "You, Samantha, are that descendant." Samantha shook her head, her mind reeling. "This is impossible. I can't be a part of this. I just wanted to find out about my family, not get involved in some supernatural war." Her refusal was met with understanding, but Lysander insisted she stay the night, promising to help her return home safely in the morning. That night, Samantha lay in a grand canopy bed, the weight of Lysander's revelations pressing on her. Sleep eluded her as she wrestled with disbelief and a deep-seated feeling that her life was about to change forever. In the early hours of the morning, a chilling scream pierced the silence of the castle, jolting Samantha awake. Rushing to the source, she found Lysander grappling with a shadowy creature, its eyes glowing with malice. Without thinking, Samantha lunged at the creature, helping Lysander drive it away as the creature vanished into the night. She felt a rush of adrenaline and fear. She realized then that this world of shadows and secrets was real, and she was inexplicably a part of it. Lysander, nursing a wound from the encounter, looked at Samantha with a newfound respect. "You acted bravely," he said. "You have the heart of a warrior, just like your ancestor." Samantha, still catching her breath, could barely process what had happened. "What was that thing?" she asked, her voice trembling. "A servant of our enemy," Alexander replied grimly. "They are becoming bolder, sensing the rise of the one prophesied to defeat them." Samantha felt a heavy responsibility settle upon her. She was no longer just a bystander in this hidden world. She had become a part of its struggle, but doubt and fear gnawed at her. How could she, an ordinary woman with no knowledge of this supernatural conflict, be their salvation? Seeing her doubt, Alexander offered to train her, to help her understand her lineage and the powers she might possess. "You don't have to face this alone," he assured her. "I will guide you." The next few days were a whirlwind of training and learning. Samantha discovered strengths she never knew she had, and secrets about her family that changed everything she thought she knew about herself. Yet the more she learned, the more she realized how unprepared she was to face the looming threat. One evening, as the sun set over the castle, casting long shadows across the stone walls, a messenger arrived with dire news. The enemy had launched an unexpected attack on a neighboring vampire clan, leaving devastation in their wake. The urgency of the situation was clear, and the time for doubt was over. "This is a sign," Alexander said gravely. "They are trying to weaken our forces before the final confrontation. We must act, and you, Samantha, are central to our strategy." Despite her fears, Samantha felt a resolve growing within her. She couldn't turn her back on this world that had become a part of her so quickly, nor could she ignore the role she was destined to play. The fight was no longer just about her or her heritage. It was about the survival of an entire realm. As they prepared to leave the castle and join the battle, Samantha took one last look at the locket, now a symbol of her destiny. She closed her eyes, drawing strength from her newfound identity. Just as they were about to step out into the night, a thunderous roar shook the castle. The enemy had found them, bringing the battle to their very doorstep. Alexander drew his sword, a look of determination on his face. Samantha, feeling the surge of adrenaline, stood beside him, ready to defend her new world. As they faced the incoming horde, the chapter closes with Samantha, no longer just a bystander, but a warrior, standing at the forefront of a battle that would determine the fate of the vampire realm. The air around Marrow Bay Castle was electric, with impending conflict as Samantha and Alexander prepared to face the enemy. Samantha's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and determination fueling her resolve. This was the moment she crossed the threshold from her old life into a world where myths and legends came alive. As the enemy approached, dark figures materializing from the shadows, Alexander stood firm, his experience as a warrior evident in his stance. Samantha, clutching a silver dagger he had given her, felt a surge of power she never knew she possessed. The battle cry of the vampires echoed through the night, a haunting melody of defiance and courage. The conflict was fierce, with Samantha and Alexander fighting back to back against the relentless onslaught. Samantha found herself moving with a grace and ferocity she hadn't known was within her. With each enemy she fended off, her confidence grew, and a fierce joy in her newfound abilities began to take root. In the midst of the battle, Samantha's eyes met with a pair of hauntingly familiar ones. They belonged to Lysander, the vampire prince she had heard about in whispered stories. His presence on the battlefield was commanding, his fighting style both elegant and deadly. Their eyes locked for a brief moment, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. As the tide of battle turned in their favor, the enemy began to retreat, disappearing into the shadows from whence they came. The castle grounds, now littered with remnants of the skirmish, felt eerily silent. In the aftermath, Lysander approached Samantha. His gaze was intense, yet there was a softness in his eyes that belied his fearsome reputation. "You fight with the spirit of a true warrior," he said, his voice resonating with a depth that seemed to stir something within her. Samantha, still catching her breath from the battle, managed a small nod. "I didn't know I had it in me," she admitted, feeling a strange connection to this vampire prince. Lysander's gaze lingered on her. "There is much about yourself you have yet to discover," he said enigmatically. "Your journey has only just begun." The next day, under Lysander's guidance, Samantha began to delve deeper into the vampire world. She learned of their traditions, their powers, and the delicate balance they maintained with the human world. Lysander, with his centuries of wisdom and experience, was a captivating mentor, and Samantha found herself drawn to his enigmatic presence. As days turned into nights, Samantha's training intensified. She learned to harness the latent powers that lay dormant within her, powers that were a legacy of her ancestral bloodline. With Lysander's guidance, she discovered a sense of purpose and strength she never knew she possessed. However, the more she immersed herself in this new world, the more she realized the gravity of the prophecy that bound her. The enemy they had faced was just a harbinger of a greater darkness that loomed on the horizon. The final confrontation was inevitable, and the weight of that destiny hung heavily on her shoulders. One evening, as the moon cast a silver glow over the castle, Lysander took Samantha to the highest tower. There, overlooking the vast expanse of the vampire realm, he spoke of the history of their people, of the sacrifices made and the battles fought to preserve their way of life. "And now you are a part of that history," Lysander said, turning to face her. "Your role in the prophecy is not just about defeating an enemy. It's about uniting our world and leading us into a new era." Samantha looked out at the sprawling landscape, feeling a sense of belonging that surprised her. She realized that this world, once so alien to her, had become a part of who she was. The journey she had embarked on was no longer just a quest for answers about her heritage. It was a fight for a world that had become her own. As they stood together in the tower, a sense of foreboding filled the air. Lysander's expression turned solemn. "The time is nearing," he said quietly. "The enemy will strike again, and we must be ready. Your role in the upcoming battle will be crucial." Samantha felt a surge of resolve. She had come so far, transformed so much. The shy bookstore owner from Marrow Bay was now a key figure in a hidden world struggle for survival. She turned to Lysander, her eyes determined. "I'm ready," she declared. "Whatever it takes, I'll stand with you and fight." That night, as Samantha lay in her chamber, she reflected on her journey. From the discovery of the Locket to standing beside a vampire prince, preparing for a battle that could decide the fate of an entire realm. She realized she had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. Her old life was a distant memory, and her destiny lay in this new, mystical world. As dawn broke, a sudden, urgent message arrived. The enemy was spotted amassing forces near the border of the realm, signaling the start of a conflict greater than any they had seen before. The chapter closes with Samantha, now a warrior of the vampire realm, preparing to face the greatest challenge of her life, standing at the edge of a war that would determine the fate of two worlds. As the impending war loomed over the vampire realm, Samantha found herself navigating a complex web of alliances and rivalries. The castle became a hub of activity, with vampires from various clans gathering to strategize and prepare for the conflict ahead. Samantha's training intensified under Lysander's watchful eye. She practiced combat skills and learned to harness her unique powers, which seemed to grow stronger each day. However, the real test came from the intricate politics of the vampire world. She had to learn whom to trust and whom to watch cautiously. Among the allies, she found an unexpected friend in Ilara, a young vampire with a rebellious spirit and a sharp wit. Ilara's knowledge of the inner workings of vampire society proved invaluable, and her straightforward manner was a refreshing change from the often guarded demeanor of others. However, not all were pleased with Samantha's growing role in their world. Lord Marcus, a powerful and influential vampire, viewed her as an outsider and a potential threat to the established order. His veiled threats and political maneuvering added a dangerous undercurrent to the already tense atmosphere. The test of loyalty and strength came sooner than expected. A group of vampire rebels, opposed to the unification proposed by Lysander and Samantha, launched a surprise attack within the castle. The ensuing battle tested Samantha's combat abilities and her capacity to lead under pressure. With Ilara and a few trusted allies by her side, Samantha fought off the attackers, showcasing her newfound skills and the strategic mind that had impressed Lysander. The victory was significant, not just in terms of the battle but in solidifying her position within the vampire community. In the aftermath of the attack, as the wounded were tended to and the castle's defenses strengthened, Samantha and Lysander shared a moment of quiet reflection. The bond between them had grown stronger, a blend of mutual respect and a deeper connection neither could deny. Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of a messenger, bringing news of the enemy's movements. They were advancing faster than anticipated, and their numbers were greater than initial reports had suggested. The time for the final confrontation was drawing near. As plans were hastily drawn, Samantha's role became clear. She was to lead a team to strike at the heart of the enemy's forces, a dangerous mission that could turn the tide of the war. The responsibility weighed heavily on her, but the trust and faith Lysander and her allies placed in her gave her strength. The night before the mission, Samantha walked through the castle's ancient halls, her thoughts a whirlwind of strategy and concern for those she had come to care for. She knew the coming battle would be unlike any they had faced before. As she gazed out at the moonlit landscape, a sense of foreboding filled her. The air was charged with an ominous energy, a prelude to the storm that was about to break. Suddenly, the castle was rocked by a massive explosion. The enemy had launched a surprise attack, their dark magic breaching the castle's defenses. Chaos erupted as vampires scrambled to respond. Samantha rushed to the battlements, where she saw a horde of shadowy figures approaching, their eyes glowing with malice. The final battle had begun sooner than they had expected, and they were caught off guard. As she prepared to join the fray, Samantha felt a surge of power coursing through her veins. She was no longer just a human caught in a supernatural conflict. She was a warrior, a defender of a realm she had come to call her own. As she stood on the battlements, Lysander joined her, his presence both comforting and empowering. "This battle will test us in ways we never imagined," he said, his voice steady. "But I believe in us, in you, Samantha. You are the key to our victory." The connection between Samantha and Lysander had deepened over the course of their journey. There was an unspoken bond that went beyond mentor and protege, beyond allies in battle. It was a connection forged in the fires of shared struggle and a mutual understanding of the weight of their destiny. The enemy forces, a legion of shadows led by a figure shrouded in dark power, approached the castle. The air crackled with magical energy, a foreboding sign of the battle to come. Samantha's team, a group of skilled vampire warriors handpicked by Lysander, stood ready. Their plan was bold and dangerous: to infiltrate the enemy's ranks and strike at their leader, hoping to end the war before it could consume their world. As the battle began, Samantha and her team made their way through the chaos, moving towards their target. The enemy was relentless, but Samantha's training and her innate powers gave her an edge. She fought with a grace and ferocity that inspired those around her. In the midst of the battle, Samantha and her team encountered a group of enemy sorcerers, their dark magic a formidable force. It was here that Samantha's true power manifested. With a strength she never knew she had, she countered their spells, protecting her team and pushing forward towards their objective. The deeper they went into the enemy's ranks, the more perilous the journey became. They faced creatures of darkness, twisted by magic, and traps set to thwart their advance. But Samantha's determination never wavered. She knew the fate of the vampire realm and her own world hung in the balance. Finally, they reached their target, the enemy leader, a being of pure malevolence whose identity was yet to be revealed. As Samantha confronted him, she felt a shock of recognition. The enemy leader was none other than a figure from her past, someone she had never expected to see in this world of darkness. The revelation shook Samantha to her core, but it also clarified the stakes of their battle. This was not just a fight for the vampire realm. It was a personal struggle against the demons of her past. As the battle raged around them, Samantha faced her adversary, her powers reaching their zenith. The confrontation was intense, a clash of magic and wills that seemed to shake the very foundations of the castle. In the climax of their duel, Samantha's locket, the symbol of her heritage and destiny, glowed with a radiant light. The power within her surged, and she unleashed a spell of such magnitude that it turned the tide of the battle. The enemy leader, overwhelmed by Samantha's power, was defeated, his dark forces scattering in disarray. The vampire realm was saved, but the victory was bittersweet for Samantha. She had confronted her past and emerged victorious, but the revelations of the battle left her with new questions about her identity and her place in this world. As the sun rose, Over the horizon, casting a golden light over the battlefield, Samantha stood amidst her allies, a sense of accomplishment mixed with introspection. They had won, but at a cost. The battle had taken its toll on the castle and its inhabitants, and the scars of the conflict would not easily fade. Lysander approached Samantha, pride and relief evident in his eyes. "You have done more than just win a battle," he said. "You have proven yourself to be the leader we needed. Your strength and courage have inspired us all." The bond between Samantha and Lysander had solidified through the trials they had faced together. There was an unspoken acknowledgement of their deepening feelings, a romance that had grown amidst the backdrop of war and turmoil. In the aftermath of the battle, as the vampires began to rebuild, Samantha pondered her future. She had found a new home among the vampires, a place where she was respected and needed. Yet she also longed for the simplicity of her life in Marrow Bay, a life that now seemed like a distant dream. As she stood on the battlements looking out at the realm she had helped save, Samantha knew her journey was far from over. The revelations about her past and her connection to the enemy leader hinted at deeper mysteries yet to be unraveled. Her role in the vampire world was not just as a warrior, she was a bridge between two worlds, a symbol of hope and unity. In the aftermath of the monumental battle, the vampire realm began its slow process of healing and restoration. Samantha, now revered as a hero, found herself at the center of this new era. Yet the victory had come with its own set of challenges and revelations that continued to weigh heavily on her. As Samantha navigated her new role in the vampire community, a disturbing truth came to light. The defeat of the enemy leader had not eradicated the threat entirely. Whispers of a darker force, one that had been manipulating events from behind the scenes, began to surface. This unseen enemy was more powerful and cunning than anything they had faced before. Lysander and Samantha, along with their allies, delved into ancient texts and sought wisdom from the oldest vampires to uncover the identity of this new adversary. Their search led them to a shocking discovery. The true enemy was an ancient entity, a being of pure darkness that had been imprisoned centuries ago by Samantha's ancestors. This revelation hit Samantha hard. She was now directly linked to the very source of the realm's suffering. Her lineage, once a symbol of hope, was now a reminder of a dark past that threatened to return. Determined to rectify the sins of her ancestors, Samantha embarked on a perilous journey to confront this ancient entity. Lysander, despite his concerns for her safety, joined her, their bond proving stronger than any fear or doubt. Their quest took them to the far reaches of the vampire realm, through lands forgotten by time and shadowed in legend. They faced trials and tribulations that tested their strength, both physical and emotional. Samantha's powers continued to grow, but so did the realization of the burden they carried. Finally, they arrived at the location of the ancient entity's prison, a desolate place where the air was thick with dread. The entity, sensing Samantha's presence, began to stir, its dark power seeping through the cracks of its prison. The confrontation was intense and harrowing. The entity, using its dark magic, twisted Samantha's fears and doubts into physical forms, forcing her to confront the darkest parts of her soul. Lysander fought valiantly by her side, his love and support a beacon of light in the overwhelming darkness. In the climax of the battle, Samantha was forced to make a heart-wrenching sacrifice. To seal the entity away, she had to use her own life force, a decision that could cost her everything she had come to love and cherish. With a heavy heart, Samantha unleashed her power, her entire being alight with a radiant energy. The force of her spell was enough to reinforce the entity's prison, sealing it away once more. But the effort left her weakened, her life hanging by a thread. As Lysander held her in his arms, their eyes met in a moment of profound love and understanding. They had won, but the cost was unimaginable. Samantha's sacrifice had saved the realm, but now she lay on the brink of death, her fate uncertain. In the quiet aftermath of the great battle, the vampire realm was enveloped in a somber mood. Samantha's heroic sacrifice had saved them from a darkness that threatened to consume their world. Yet the cost of this victory weighed heavily on everyone, especially Lysander, who sat vigil by Samantha's side, hoping for a miracle. As days passed, a glimmer of hope emerged. Samantha, guided by the strength of her spirit and the depth of her power, began to show signs of recovery. It was a slow and arduous process, but with each passing day she grew stronger. Her revival was seen as a sign of the resilience and enduring spirit of their people. With Samantha's gradual recovery, the vampire realm began to heal and rebuild. The victory over the ancient entity brought a newfound unity among the vampire clans. They had faced a common enemy and emerged victorious, forging bonds that promised a more harmonious future. Samantha, now awake and regaining her strength, found herself in a changed world. Her sacrifice had elevated her to a status of legend within the vampire community. She was no longer an outsider but an integral part of their world, a symbol of their collective strength and resilience. Lysander, ever by her side, supported her through her recovery. Their relationship, forged in the fires of battle and sacrifice, had evolved into a deep and abiding love. They had faced the darkest of trials together, and in doing so found a love that transcended their differences. As Samantha walked through the rebuilt halls of the castle, she felt a sense of accomplishment, but also a longing for the life she had left behind. The simple days in Marrow Bay, the quiet of her father's bookstore seemed like a lifetime ago. She knew she could not return to that life, but a part of her yearned for its simplicity. Lysander, sensing her inner turmoil, proposed a journey to the human world. It was time for Samantha to revisit her past and find closure, to bridge the two worlds that she was now a part of. Together they ventured to Marrow Bay, where Samantha was reunited with her father and the life she had once known. The reunion was emotional, filled with joy and sorrow. Samantha's father, seeing the change in his daughter, realized that she had found her place in a world beyond his understanding. They shared stories of her adventures, and he listened with a mixture of awe and sadness, knowing she belonged to a world far greater than Marrow Bay. As Samantha walked the familiar streets, she felt a sense of peace. She had come full circle, from an ordinary woman to a hero of a hidden realm and back again. Her journey had changed her, but the core of who she was remained the same. The visit was short but meaningful. Samantha knew she had responsibilities waiting for her in the vampire realm, a world that now looked to her for guidance and leadership. but she also knew she had a home to return to, a place where she was simply Samantha, the bookstore owner's daughter. With a renewed sense of purpose, Samantha and Lysander returned to the vampire realm. The road back had brought clarity and closure, strengthening Samantha's resolve to lead her people into a new era of peace and prosperity. As the dawn of a new era rose over the vampire realm, Samantha stood at the forefront, a leader shaped by trials and triumphs. Her journey had transformed her from an ordinary woman into a figure of legend, a bridge between worlds. With Lysander by her side, she faced the future with a resolve forged in the fires of adversity. The realm, now united under a common cause, looked to Samantha for guidance. She implemented policies that fostered cooperation between the vampire clans and sought ways to coexist peacefully with the human world. Her unique perspective, being of both worlds, allowed her to mediate and understand the concerns of all parties. However, peace was not destined to last. A new threat emerged, one that had been lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. This adversary was cunning and powerful, with a deep understanding of both vampire and human realms. As reports of mysterious incidents both in the vampire realm and the human world began to surface, Samantha and Lysander realized that these events were connected. The new enemy was orchestrating a plan to disrupt the fragile peace that Samantha had worked so hard to build. Determined to protect her people and the world she loved, Samantha embarked on a final quest to confront this new adversary. Her journey took her to the farthest corners of both realms, gathering allies and uncovering the true extent of the threat they faced. The climax of her journey led to a confrontation in an ancient ruin, where the true nature of the enemy was revealed. It was a shocking twist that connected Samantha's past with the present. The enemy was none other than a figure from her lineage, a forgotten ancestor who sought to rewrite the destiny of both the vampire and human worlds. The battle was fierce, a clash of magic and wills. Samantha, drawing upon the full extent of her powers and the experiences she had gained, fought with a determination that inspired all who stood with her. Lysander, ever her steadfast companion, fought at her side, their bond a source of strength and courage. In the final moments of the confrontation, Samantha faced a choice that would define the future of both realms. With a combination of cunning and power, she outmaneuvered her adversary, thwarting their plans and securing the future she had envisioned. The victory was hard-won, but it brought a new sense of hope and unity. Samantha's journey had come full circle, her experiences shaping her into a leader who stood as a beacon of hope for all. As she returned to the vampire realm, triumphant and resolved, she brought with her an elixir of peace and understanding, a testament to her journey and the lessons learned. The realm celebrated her return, recognizing her not just as a hero but as a visionary who had transcended the boundaries of worlds and brought about a new era of coexistence and harmony. Under Samantha's leadership, the vampire realm entered a period of prosperity and peace. Her policies promoted mutual respect and collaboration between vampires and humans, paving the way for a future where fear and misunderstanding were replaced by partnership and dialogue. However, as the celebrations faded and the night sky stretched endlessly above the castle, Samantha stood gazing at the stars, reflective. Her heart was filled with love for her people and Lysander. yet a part of her yearned for the simplicity of her former life. Lysander, joining her, understood her silent contemplation. "Your journey has changed not just our realm but you," he said softly. "You've brought light to our darkness, and in doing so, you've illuminated your own path, one that is uniquely yours." Samantha smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I once thought I had to choose between these worlds, but I've learned that my strength lies in being a part of both. My journey isn't about leaving one world for another. It's about bringing them together." As they stood together, a sense of peace and accomplishment filled the air. Samantha had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged as a unifying force, a symbol of resilience and hope. Yet even in this moment of tranquility, the winds of change whispered of future adventures. The realms were ever evolving, and Samantha, with her unique connection to both, would always be at the heart of their stories. The chapter, and thus the story, closes with Samantha looking out over the realm she had helped transform. A sense of closure and continuity pervaded her thoughts. Her journey had been one of discovery, struggle, and triumph, a testament to the power of courage and love in the face of darkness. Samantha, the bridge between worlds, stood ready for whatever the future might hold, her heart and soul forever intertwined with the destinies of both the vampire and human realms.